Sorcerer Season 0, Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4, and guys, in Season 5, it's our time to rule. Oh yes. Hello then, my fellow sorcerers, and welcome to what is primarily going to be your best leveling build option for Season 5 to get you to the new juicy goodness, the Infernal Hordes, but most importantly, the ridiculous new, unbelievably buffed uniques that are going to give us some wonderful new build options to dominate with. Not to mention, you know, just the across-the-board colossal damage increase that we have gotten as sorcerers. You know, a huge increase to the amount of damage intelligence gives us, which works out to be another 25 to 40% damage boost just for existing, based on the average intelligence we tend to have in the endgame. Essentially, things are looking good. Things are looking real good. So getting to that goodness efficiently and fast has never been more important. And as you are seeing, well, it's going to be incinerate. And it does bring me a lot of joy that that is the case, because when I presented Incinerate with the buffed change aspects as the best leveling build for Season 4, ages ago now, there was so much doubt, dislike, and just general hate thrown my way for being ridiculous, when it turned out it was anything but that, and was actually the best leveling build, and a really good endgame one too. But I'm not saying this just to have a haha, told you so, that's whatever, I don't care. I just love this class, and I want to push it to its limit always. And all I will say is just trust that I really do give it my all when it comes to testing and theory crafting and so on and so forth, and I try my best to never say anything without some solid backing that what it is, well, the way. Now, technically, the season journey is going to reward some aspects to do with chain lightning and a little bit of mana help. And in theory, there is potential here, but the reason I'm not recommending you go into Chain Lightning for leveling based on the likely correct aspects being handed to you through chapters 1, 2, 3 of the journey is, well, first you gotta do chapters 1, 2, 3 of the journey, which will take some time, so what are you gonna play while you do that? And you would need to get given Axial Conduit, the new unique pants, for Chain Lightning to even be better than Incinerate, but even then it likely won't be, because this still needs an entire build around it, and it needs a lot of mana management, it needs certain affixes, and essentially it's just not the most likely to be efficient when it comes to early leveling. And even then, it remains to be seen where new Chain Lightning actually ends up. It was bugged on the PTR, and that has been fixed now, so it should do a lot more damage, but it's entirely possible, even endgame-wise, min-max Incinerate still beats out min-max Chain Lightning. So I'd rather not roll the dice on something with question marks versus just going, hey, get a guaranteed aspect from a dungeon as soon as you make your character, and then just hold Incinerate and destroy all the way to whatever level you want to be before you swap to another build. But bottom line, Incinerate is just one of the most premium leveling options in the game, never mind for Sorcerer, and it's very hard for anything else to compete. It is efficient, it is long-reaching, it is incredibly damaging relative to your power while leveling up, although even then, it still was plenty capable of beating tier 120 plus pit towards the end of Season 4, so it's not like it's an early game special. In any case, it will give you the best foundation possible to smoothly progress into, well, Torment and all of our lovely new goodies, so I am very happy to bring this to you. And one of the two major aspects that we need is from a dungeon, so you can go get it straight away, and that by itself is already enough for this to be worth running, so that's lovely. We don't have to do any kind of pre-temporary build before finding the correct aspects. We only just get stronger and stronger as we do. Not to mention the actual new mode in Season 5, the Infernal Hordes, a wave-based mode where enemies spawn in a room. And for Incinerate, that's hilarious, because you just stand in the center and spin around, slowly flamethrowing everything, which makes it an incredibly efficient tool to start farming that early on once you get to World Tier 3 and 4. And even in the World Tier 1 and 2 new dungeons that are in, like, Infernal Hordes Light, you're still going to get that experience. So it's actually a perfect marriage with the goals of the Season 2, on top of just being really powerful, comfy, easy to get online straight away, and makes you nigh unkillable for reasons we'll get into. So without further ado, let's get into this with the perfect new Incinerate leveling option, using a lot of the new buffed skills and synergies, and indeed some skill changes too, to really give it that extra little bit of spice. I am very excited to say then, for the first time for Season 5, we begin with the skill tree, and 2 points in any of these actually. We don't need a basic skill for this build, we just want to get immediately onto your core, where we get the star of the show with Incinerate, then Enhanced Incinerate, and finally Greater for the Immobilize. Grabbing a second point to unlock our defensives that we then go on to. For now, I am doing this level by level, so this is what you follow along with as you gain your XP. Rest in peace, Flame Shield and your immortalness. We won't be needing you yet. Grab yourself Teleport, and then Enhanced for the movement speed. For pure leveling speed, we don't need the DR yet, as we are very, very tanky while leveling, especially with a buffed skill we'll be getting later on. And then we want Ice Armor and Enhanced Ice Armor, following that Shimmering, so we can use it as often as possible. We will be using a buffed aspect of Ice Armor that's really, really good for us, so this works out lovely, as does the extra mana regen while leveling. Then we are on to our conjurations. We get ourselves Hydra, then Enhanced Hydra, and finally Summoned, which is getting quite the big buff alongside Incinerate. So it's got a little bit of a base damage increase, but most importantly, a huge increase to its burn. So on top of it giving extra stacks of conjuration mastery for us, we get to really play into extra burning damage, and therefore extra buffed combustion damage. And let's not forget while we're here that Incinerate itself has also had a tasty little 16% damage buff, because why not? So that's another solid reason to be going into this. Then we want to get your Lightning Spear with Enhanced and then Invoked, and finally Ice Blades, Enhanced and then Summoned, to help with a little bit of cooldown reduction while we just don't have essentially any. Then we want full 3 points in Conjuration Mastery, as we're able to keep up a quite consistent 3 or 4 stacks of it, and at this point we want to go all the way back and grab Fireball for your first enchantment slot, get that nice and snug in there. Moving on past that then, we want to head down to our ultimates, where we can now get Fiery Surge, where we want to get exactly 2 ranks of it, then we want to get Endless Pyre, and then we want to get all 3 into Warmth, and Warmth, oh my god, it's essentially going to make you immortally unkillable, especially while leveling. Like, the buff that this has got is ridiculous. 3% per non-elite, and 12% from a boss? The fact that we can get ranks of this of Tempering later on is just scary and exciting, but even right now, like, you're gonna have to try really hard to even take damage while playing Incinerate, and it is a big reason while leveling, especially once you get into Torment and start trying to kill things way high above you without perfect or good gear, to play a burning build, because we get this constant, massive amount of incoming healing that should let us really accelerate our progress. Then we can fill out some passives like Soulfire that we want full of. This takes us to our key passives, where we get Combustion, who is also getting a lovely increase in Season 5. And Combustion with the patch that we'll be applying for Season 5 is a lot stronger than it was before. 60% burning damage. That is a lot, like, a lot. That is really going to skyrocket this to even greater heights, even with the nerf to the legendary Paragon node down to a cap of 80% burning. Because, look, that's just not relevant to leveling anyway, so for now, it's just pure big gains. Then we want to go back, finish off your Endless Pyre, and then we can return back up the tree to grab yourselves Inner Flames for that lovely 12% multiplicative increase, and then we can also grab ourselves now, finally, Firewall to take up our second enchantment slot for the build. Then we want Enhanced Firewall, and then finally Mage's Firewall for that burning to continue. Now we do have Fireball, we want to get the lucky hits that we can in order to fuel it. We may as well get the Align the Elements into 1 rank of protection just so we have some barriers going. We don't need that much more because of how silly Warmth is, so we are good to just leave it there. Then we want to finally head all the way back and fully power up Incinerate. Then comes the free damage that is Glass Cannon, the 1 rank of Elemental Attunement. In order to have it happen every now and then, it does help out, especially in a low cooldown reduction environment that is leveling. And lastly, your 4 points can go wherever you would like them, but filling out Fireball for just more damage is certainly completely fine. You can also go into Greater Fireball if you wish, but they are somewhat flexible. So you will be set out like this, and we are ready to go on to gear. Now, of course, we are leveling, so I have stuck to aspects you can guarantee by unlocking them in various dungeons, as even with everything codexable, you still need to find a copy of the aspect to begin with, and we do have to take that into account when deciding on what gear we're using, which is why the legs are just random rare, as are the helmets, just to fill in the slot, because there's nothing required. You need to go out your way to get there early on. By the time you need something there, it will probably be unique, like Tibalt's Will. In any case then, yeah, this was the setup I was using for the B-roll. It's certainly weak, there's no gems, there's not right affixes, it's just to put the point across. In any case, the star of the show and the first thing that you need to go out of your way to get is complete Light's Keep in order for Necklace of Conflagration. And I do include the necklace deliberately because you need to put Conflagration on your necklace for that 1.5 times. Yes, of course, you'll get the minimum version to begin with, but that is enough to get you going, and this by itself gets Incinerate up to speed and does what you need it to do. The extra burn damage, the explosions will just cleave through enemies, and you will be flying through the XP. Following that then, also dungeon unlockable, you want your prodigies just to keep your mana on top of things. Incinerate really is quite efficient mana-wise, even out the gate with no gear to support it, but it does not hurt to have this extra little trickling in to make sure you never do run out. That's also why we initially start with Incendiary, also unlockable, and that will keep you fully going as long as you need it to. Then we have ourselves this, Bounding Conduit on your boots. We are getting this simply to make Teleport have a lower cooldown. You can unlock this from a dungeon and it will just get you going quicker. With the Teleport cooldown being nerfed, every little does help. Then you want to unlock Inner Calm, as 10% extra damage is lovely, and then tripling it to 30 when you stand still for 3 seconds, which you'll be doing a lot with Incinerate, is a really hefty increase and very valuable to just go out and grab. Also then, from a dungeon is the final one that I would recommend you go out your way to get online, and that's Snow Veiled, which is getting buffed, and very tastily so. It now gives us 25% damage reduction on top of the Unstoppable, which is super worth and will give you all the tankiness you could need early on. So that's very, very much worth your while. After that then, the big important one is Flamethrower's aspect, which you will need to have drop somewhere. At the rate that legendaries are shoved in our face these days, it shouldn't take you long to get hold of one, at which point, no matter what other aspects you had on your weapons, and it doesn't matter if you have one hand and focus or two hand until you find Flamethrowers, just have the best weapons you have, item power wise, with the best aspects you have access to, your Conceited, your Storm Swells, etc. But once you get Flamethrower's aspect drop, get a two-handed staff always, whack it on repeatedly, and then you are good to go. Flamethrowers on a staff and Conflagration on a neck, and Incinerate will see you all the way to 100 comfortably. So, I have an extra selection of 5 aspects here that you are looking out for if you happen to find them. Ideally, you want to swap your boots to Fortune, or indeed put it on your helmet, once you get it, as the extra lucky hit is very useful. You also want Serpentine at some point. Well, this one isn't so much want as it's nice, especially if you find it early on before anything else. An extra hydra is an extra stack of conjuration mastery, and we are using the hydras here, so this will be a nice little upgrade for you. Eventually, you will quickly reach the point where you are quite comfortable on mana, and both of these resource rings can become damaging rings, at which point you do have space for something like this. You want to be looking out for affixes early, like mana per second, as that makes Incinerate essentially infinitely free almost already by itself. Then we have Conceited. Of course, you always want this whenever you can grab it in a slot, as the damage is lovely. And Stormswell 2, this one is dungeon unlockable, and these two are probably the most that I would recommend once you get your ring slots free. But then, of course, a shout out to Engulfing Flames, that is also getting a nice tasty buff in Season 5, is very much worth your time. In the ideal world then, the 2 ring slots and your glove slots would be Engulfing Flames, Stormswell, and Conceited, if you want a definitive answer. Put Fortune on your helmet, and you are laughing. Once it gets to affixes actually mattering, well, again, mainly you're just looking to solve any kind of mana issues you may have with affixes like mana per second to free up these ring slot aspects. Past that, you just want things that, you know, help you. You'll be changing gear a lot as you level, as is always the case, so just any fire, damage, intelligence, and especially intelligence, since the buff is really especially good for you. Which is why your gems, as you get them, do want to be intelligence in your armor, armor in your jewelry, and then damage over time in your weapon. So once that's all set up and you're chugging along, that's all well and good. But if you want to know how to take the Incinerate leveling experience and upgrade it to a more late game, end game, progressing, killing your unique boss ladder and all of that stuff, I will link down below the proper min-maxed end game version of Incinerate for you to look at and then transition to from this leveling build. Past that, how to play this leveling build? Well, it's very simple. You want to always make sure both your hydras are up, use your ice blades and your lightning spear on cooldown, teleport to go fast to progress nearly always, and then ice armor whenever you need it, whenever you're feeling a little bit injured and you are facing a boss. Past that, you really do just stand there and burn and enjoy the lovely results of that simple standing there and burn, and take advantage of the massive area that you can actually get going with Incinerate without moving from the spot. I won't go too in-depth in tempering here, because while you're leveling, it's not really a big issue. You'll be swapping gear a lot as you're finding higher item power, and generally just put on stuff that you find that is helpful. As you get more and more tempering manuals, your options will open up again, and anything that helps the fire damage over time theme you're going for here is going to be fine while leveling. You really don't need to min-max this stuff here. A little stop at Paragon then, for once you get to 50, and the next few levels beyond that, just so you have something to initially aim for. The basic board like this, we do want to be going up left and getting all the all resist, as we will need it early on especially, and then we head right past Elementalist up to the glyph slot, where we want to initially use Reinforced to start getting that DR coming in. Activate it with the willpower, getting this all resist too, as again we very much will need it early, and then we want to head to Elemental Balance, continuing on into the classic that is your Enchantment Master and all of the sweet, delicious, non-physical damage it entails. Heading up to the left to then grab Elementalist, continuing past it to grab Ruinous, then over to the glyph where we will get Elemental Balance, and then Elementalist as your glyph. Moving on to Erudite, and then we go into the next board. That's already a lot of points to spend, so just know that your next board is going to be Burning Instinct, with the priority of getting Burning Instinct, and enjoy that 104%, because it's going to be capped at 80 next season, which certainly is a shame. But that then is that, ladies and gentlemen, our optimum leveling for Season 5 to get to all of the new awesome stuff as soon as possible. There is at least 6 new core builds for Sorcerer that all look incredibly promising, that are all equally very exciting too, thanks to the the buffs, the new aspects, the ridiculously enhanced and changed uniques, and I actually haven't been this excited for a season, perhaps ever, because I am a theory crafter at heart, and there is so much of that to be doing now. I really cannot wait. So for now, look out for all of the builds to start, and like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.